So welcome everyone to our Sunday evening Sutra and Dharma talk on the 48 Great Vows of Amitabha Buddha. Before we begin, I would like to invite you to please bring your hands to your heart center, and we can all read out the Sutra opening verse together. Namo Fundamental Teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Sutra opening verse. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wondrous Dharma. It's difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of kalpas. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it. May we understand the true meaning of the Tathagata. Namo pure ocean-wide assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Amituofo Buddha. Okay, just a quick review for people who may have missed the first session. The first session was basically an introduction, a little bit of background and history on Mahayana sutras, on the Infinite Life Sutra. And as I talk about in Chinese Buddhist canon, originally there were 12 translated versions of the Infinite Life Sutra from India, Sanskrit into the Chinese. But 7 of them have gone missing throughout the time, and we only have 5 left in the Chinese Buddhist canon. And the version now we are currently studying is actually a compiled version of the 5 existing translated version of the Infinite Life Sutra. So why are we studying this compiled version? Because these different translated versions, they have a little bit of differences. Right? Maybe in one of the versions, the Buddha talk about this aspect of the Pure Land, and in another version, it did not talk about. So to study the compiled version, to compile all the 5 sutras together, which was done by Upasaka Xia Lianju, really legendary Dharma teacher, Dharma master. And he did not actually change a word, but he just combined all the 5 existing translations. So we really get to see a full picture on the Pure Land Dharma. So sometimes it may be a bit different if you are using, say, the existing English translation of the Infinite Life Sutra by, I think, the Japanese BDK group, or other version of Infinite Life Sutra. So it's a little bit different. And I think someone in our group also found a full English translation of this sutra, which was done last year by a Westerner, I believe, and it's currently saved in our Pure Land Drive for those who are interested. I had a look at it. I think the person has definitely done a great job, but it's really not an easy sutra to translate, particularly for someone whose first language may not be Chinese. It's already difficult for Chinese to understand Buddhist sutras in Chinese, what to say about someone whose background is not in Chinese. And also not only that, you need to understand the language, you need to understand the Dharma properly as well. So sometimes when we translate sutras, also talking from my own personal experience, we cannot just translate directly, because in normal Chinese, conversational Chinese, it may mean this, but actually in the Buddha Dharma, it could mean something else. So it's actually not easy to translate Buddhist sutras. One first need to have a mastery level, like a great understanding on the language and also on the Dharma. So I'm also working on a translation of this, which will be also a bit different from the one that we are currently saved in Pure Land Drive, which was done by a Westerner, but still quite well done. And there was also a commentary that was edited by someone else. So I also encourage you to look at that, and it also give a bit of background of who was Upasaka Xia Lianju. So Upasaka means a lay Buddhist. Actually, he was a lay Buddhist. He took the Bodhisattva precepts, but at that time he was the most prominent also Dharma teacher on the Infinite Life Sutra, on the Pure Land Dharma. And Master Ching Kong also talk about this version. And so it's my teacher, Master Ren Shan. So that's why I feel I should follow this. And because I have also compared this compiled version with currently the most maybe popular one that's been translated into English. I found this version indeed has more detailed, comprehensive content that maybe were not included in the previous sutras. So that's why I also encourage all of you to study this version. Okay, and it's easy to study. So really rejoice in the merit of what a great job Sakasha Lianzhi has done for us. So instead of studying maybe all the 5 different sutras, because we may be worried that maybe we may miss something. Now we just need to study one compiled version, and it's easy and good for our study. Okay. And last time we talked about the first 2 great vows of Amitabha Buddha. The first is the land without evil realms. So in the Pure Land, there will not be any evil realms, unlike our world, right? There's the animal realm, hungry ghost realm, hell realm. In the Pure Land, nothing like that. So Amitabha Buddha has really thought very carefully when he created his Pure Land. He knows what's really important for us. Imagine if in our Saha world, in the cycle of reincarnation, in the cycle of samsara, if there are no evil realms, maybe there's not much urgency actually for us to get out, right? Imagine there's no animal realm, no hungry ghost realm, no hell realm. There's just human and heaven realms in our world. Then maybe it doesn't matter whether we go to the Pure Land or not. But unfortunately, right, in the cycle of samsara, evil realms exist. Right? Some we can see like the animal realm, others we may not be able to see, like the ghost realm, the hell realm. Although we most definitely have all been there, since we are in the cycle of reincarnation for already countless eons. We have been there, but we forgot. So Amitabha Buddha really first just get rid of all the risks, all the risks that exist in the cycle of samsara for us. When we go to the Pure Land, there's never going to be any evil realms. Not only that, there will not be any evil realm. The second vow is never again fall into evil path. Right? Imagine, so we talk about when we go to the Pure Land, we can also travel to other worlds to help save sentient beings. And then one may wonder, if I again come back to the Saha world, will I again fall into the evil realm? Not possible. Once you are in the Pure Land, so Pure Land is no evil realm, you can enjoy infinite bliss, infinite joy, infinite peace. But because you have the bodhicitta, you will be a great bodhisattva or even Buddhas, and you may want to go to other worlds. You will go to other worlds to help save sentient beings. Even if you come back to the Saha world, or to go to really, even worse worlds, you will still never fall into evil realms. You will always be able to go back to the Pure Land. So there is really great insurance, security provided by Amitabha Buddha for us. And really this helps us to settle our mind. So that's the first 2 great vows. So in the future sessions, I may not review what we have studied before, because we have all uploaded to YouTube. For those who may have missed the previous sessions, you can just go and watch the video we uploaded. Usually we upload maybe about 1 week, in 1 week after the session. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the 3rd vow. Today, I hope I can cover from the 3rd vow to the 11th vow. So we'll see how we go. So we can all read out the sutra together. I also put a Chinese here just for people maybe who can speak Chinese. You can also compare and see. And when I translate, I may not translate word by word, like literally, because sometimes I feel it may not make sense for people who are coming from the Western background. But I definitely catch all the essence of the meanings, and it's correct. Okay, so when I become a Buddha, all sentient beings from all the worlds in the 10 directions who come to be born in my land will all have the bodies of pure gold and the 32 signs of a great man with good features, clean and pure, all of the same kind. If there are differences in appearance, good and bad, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. The 3rd vow is the vow of golden body. 4th vow, vow of 32 signs. 5th vow, vow of no difference in bodies. So Amitabha Buddha is really, really considerate. And have you noticed whenever we study a vow, it always begins with like, all sentient beings from all worlds in the 10 directions who come to be born in my land. Which means that Amitabha Buddha's vow is all inclusive. It includes like all sentient beings for all the worlds in the 10 directions from the entire Dharma realms. It includes us and also include maybe the people you dislike, maybe your enemies. It also includes like absolutely. And it includes, doesn't matter what religions, what backgrounds, what race, etc. people are coming from, even what realms, right? Remember animals, humans, ghosts, beings in the hell realm, they can all go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. This is really the infinite compassion of Amitabha Buddha. So when we study these vows, we can also learn from the compassionate heart, like the big, great heart, the infinite big heart of Amitabha Buddha. Maybe there are people you may dislike, maybe in your daily life, but even Amitabha Buddha will save that person. I remember I told my friend, one of my friends, and I said, oh, you know, Amitabha Buddha, you kneel for and go to the Pure Land. And she believed, she's also Chinese. And then she was like, but I don't want my husband to go. So we kneel for practitioners should not have this narrow-mindedness. Right? Maybe you have people you dislike, you don't actually want them to go to the Pure Land, but don't worry. Once they are in the Pure Land, they will no longer be the person that you used to hate or dislike. Absolutely no enemies in the Pure Land. And we'll all look the same, and we'll all look like Amitabha Buddha. In that kind of environment, how can you actually hate anybody? In our world, a lot of hatred, you know, people dislike each other, enter into arguments, conflicts, a lot of that. Because of what? Also because of separation, because we think we are different from each other, people entering into wars, etc. So Amitabha Buddha has considered all of that. What's the best way to solve this? To have absolutely no separation, and you really become one with all beings in that kind of environment. First of all, we will have the bodies of pure gold. Now in Chinese, it says, 接具紫磨真金色身, 紫磨真金. If I translate literally, it means like purple grinding pure gold. And maybe it does not make so much sense, but what it actually means is that it's like the purest type of gold. When we talk about gold in our world, we think it's really precious. People like to wear gold, and they may not like to wear iron, etc., but they like to wear gold because gold also signifies that, I think it's the metal that can actually last the longest, more permanent than other metals or treasures in our world. But gold in the Pure Land, it's actually just like soil, like sand everywhere. Remember, the ground in the Pure Land is also made of gold. Everything in the Pure Land is like gold, and so are our bodies. And what's different? I found this type of pure gold body like that of Amitabha Buddha compared to our vulnerable bodies here. First of all, it's not made of pure gold. And second of all, this body, the body we're currently in, when we come out, we come out from our mother's womb, not a very clean place. And then we grow from a baby, we grow bigger, and then we grow old, and then we die, right? There's this cycle of birth and death in our world. Whereas in the Pure Land, the bodies of pure gold is not like that. You will never grow old with that kind of body. And also don't think that when we go to the Pure Land, like when we come out from the lotus, we'll come out like a little baby and then we grow up. It's not like that. As soon as the lotus open, you have this golden body and you look like Amitabha Buddha. So no, never grow old. Gold also signifies it's unchanged, it's permanent. So again, it's due to Amitabha Buddha's great vows that we are able to enjoy this kind of benefits when we are in the Pure Land. So not only we have the bodies of pure gold, And by the way, this pure gold is not what you may imagine the gold in our world. I think, oh, it's very hard, like a hard metal. So our bodies will be very hard. It's not like that. Your body, although the color is like pure gold, but it's also transparent. Right? It's really magical. Like for instance, if we're in a Pure Land, my hand can go through your body, or we can like fly through each other, and you don't feel anything. It's a bit like a virtual reality. It's like that. All these things we are talking about here in the Pure Land, like gold, like birds, etc., or the lotus, it's nothing like what we could imagine. It's nothing like what we have equivalent in our world. This are just used as a way of convenience for us to best understand the life in the Pure Land, but we cannot really actually fully understand or even imagine it until we go there. Okay, so not only we have the bodies of pure gold, we will also have the 32 signs of a great man. Now, in ancient India, they think the 32 signs of a great man. How when Shakyamuni Buddha was born, they knew that, oh, this prince will be a great person that can lead all beings out of suffering. It's also the people who predicted that are also based on the 32 signs, the kind of features that the Buddha had when he was born. So it's also kind of important, particularly for beings in our world here. We really, a lot of people in this world, all of us maybe all really care about, maybe how we look, or when we, start to make friends with others, the first thing we'll see is actually, the first impression is actually the person's look, before you even get to know someone, before you decide whether you want to talk with that person. So particularly nowadays, with social media, everything, appearance, look, really also create a lot of anxiety, a lot of afflictions, and maybe particularly amongst young people. People may be not so confident with their look, or they like to compare how they look with other people, etc. So in the Pure Land, none of that. No more afflictions about looks. No more insecurities about how we may look. You will all look great like the Buddha. So how wonderful is that, right? And why it's actually important even for bodhisattvas or Buddha, if they want to go to other worlds to help sentient beings, they actually need to appear with this kind of a good look. Imagine if maybe someone who talk about the Dharma, and then the person looks really, really ugly, right? Really horrible. You may not want to listen to that person, because beings in our world, we are very much attached, particularly also attached to appearance, etc. It sounds shallow, but that's really the truth. And it's actually not so easy for Buddhas and bodhisattvas also to attain a good look when they come to this world. So for a high level of enlightened bodhisattvas, when they're about to realize Buddhahood, they also need to spend 100 kalpas to cultivate good merit, to generate good look, so they can go to other worlds and then to have this great look. So sentient beings will be sort of attracted also by their look, and then they're more willing to want to listen to what they're going to say. So for instance, Ananda, my Buddha's senior disciple, he took the monastic life, not because of anything, but because of the Buddha's appearance. It was said in the sutra, because he thought, oh, Buddha has this such wonderful appearance. It must not be because, people think like DNA or because of the parents, etc. It's not like that. It must be because of his cultivation. So it's also a skillful mean of the bodhisattvas. And with good features, clean and pure, all of the same kind. So you will never be insecure about your look. No more anxiety, anything like that. And always clean and pure. Now, unlike in our world, people may look really beautiful, but still they need to do work every day, right? They need to go to the toilet and they need to bath. It doesn't matter how beautiful the person is, not actually clean. It's just like a skin bag full of rubbish, to put it frankly. So it's not clean and pure. doesn't matter how one may do the makeup, etc. But the essence of our bodies here is really actually, dirty, very dirty and impure. But in the Pure Land, it's not like that. No need to go to the toilet. You don't even need to eat. In the sutra, it says you can eat if you like to, but actually when the food appears in front of you, you don't even need to eat. So it's just a way of convenience. So clean and pure, no need to go to toilet. You will never get sick, never grow old, etc. None of this sort of a low dimensional bodies in existence, and all of the same kind. So maybe you don't want your husband or your wife, I don't know, someone maybe you don't like to go to the Pure Land. Don't worry, when you are in the Pure Land, you will all look like Amitabha Buddha, and you will no longer hate or dislike anybody. You will be good friends with everyone. Everyone is like your best friend. Unlike in our world here, we are very selected. I'm a good friend with you, I'm not a good friend with him, etc. Nothing like that in the Pure Land. No more separation. And then someone may wonder, how do I know who is whom? When we all go to the Pure Land, how do I know who is Jadi, who is Jiawen, who is Kevin, etc. Don't worry. So in one thought, you will immediately know who is whom. Although we all look the same, with the same face and features and bodies of pure gold, etc. But if you see actually the three sages, Amitabha Buddha, Guan Yin, Da Shizhi, Mahatma Prapta, Avalokiteshvara, the three sages of the Western Pure Land, their face, if you look carefully, they actually look the same face, same features. But what's different is their adornments and the clothing, the attire they're wearing. It's also like that. We can do that in the Pure Land. So you can wear different clothes. And also everyone has great divine power. So you will immediately know who is who, etc. So don't worry, you will not miss anyone. You will not be able to not find anyone in the Pure Land if you're worried. Okay. So if there are differences in appearance, good and bad, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. So in Chinese, it says, if there are differences in appearance, good and ugly, or we can say good and bad, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. So you will all look great in the Pure Land with the bodies of pure gold, 32 signs of a great man. Actually, the 32 signs of a great man is only a way of convenience to suit people here. Like Amitabha Buddha has really infinite signs, infinite good signs. So it's just a way of convenience to speak like this for us to understand. And also no difference whatsoever in our appearance. Okay, how wonderful is that? No more afflictions about a lot of things. If we all look the same, we all look good, no more really a lot of troubles that we currently have in this world. Oh, actually, I just thought about, when I talk about that, I remember receiving a comment a while ago from someone saying, I'm afraid of losing my personality. Maybe it could also be related to this vow here. If we all look the same, then we'll no longer maybe have the so-called, personality, which people really sort of enjoy or indulge in our world, right? Like, don't worry. The so-called personality people have in this world is really from the illusion of self, also from really the separation of, oh, I am someone, I'm so cool, I dress like this, I'm like that, etc. This can actually create a lot of afflictions. A lot of afflictions are created by our ego self. Also this so-called personality that you think you are different from others, you are maybe superior than others. When you really drop this ego self, which we were when we are in the Pure Land, when you are in that kind of environment, you look the same with everyone. There's no more this, oh, I'm better than you, etc. There's no more this egoistic self. And the joy, the bliss you will enjoy, will be just billion-fold than what you may enjoy temporarily by this so-called illusional personality, egoistic self, which a lot of people, they are sort of proud of in our world, which generate sufferings and afflictions. Just feel like adding that a little bit. Okay, so next, the 6th to the 8th vow. When I become a Buddha, all sentient beings who come to be born in my land will naturally know all the good and evil deeds they have done in their past lives throughout immeasurable kalpas, all capable of thoroughly seeing and completely hearing, knowing all the things in the 10 directions from the past, present, and future. If these vows cannot be achieved, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. So the 6th vow, recollection of past lives, which maybe a lot of us, we want to know. 7th vow, divine eye. 8th vow, divine ear. So before we talk about the appearance and the next 5 vows, from the 6th to the 10th vow, it's all about abilities, and even to the 11th vow, like divine abilities, really much beyond what we can imagine, and the kind of benefits we'll get in the Pure Land. So first, all beings, remember, all inclusive, doesn't matter who, anyone who come to be born in my land will naturally know all the good and evil deeds they have done in their past lives throughout immeasurable kalpas. So a few things to notice here. First, naturally know. This is different from, say, in our world, maybe arhats. Some people in our world, they may also have the ability to remember maybe a few of their past lives, but they may not naturally know. They may need to maybe go into a deep state of meditation, etc., to see. Or maybe, I don't know, I think in the West it's quite popular, like past life regression, etc. You need to go into this sort of trance state, or you need to be in a dream, etc. So a lot of people in our world, we don't naturally know what's going on in our past lives. But whereas you're in the Pure Land, you will naturally know. You don't need to go into any sort of a deep meditation. You will just automatically know, naturally know all the good and evil deeds they have done in the past lives. And for how long in our past life? Throughout immeasurable kalpas. This is great spiritual power we are talking about here. It's not just like a little abilities. For arhats, for great arhats, people who are enlightened beings, the highest level of enlightened being according to Theravada Buddhism and the sort of the primary school of enlightened being in Mahayana Buddhism. So for great arhat, the maximum capacity they can know about their past life is about 80,000 kalpas. There are arhats who know maybe a few past lives, or 10, 20 past lives, but maximum they can know is 80,000 kalpas. And beyond that, they don't know. They can know 80,000 kalpas in the past and also the future, but that's it. Whereas when we are in the Pure Land, we will be able to know all our past lives throughout immeasurable kalpas. It could be a little bit scary for us right now when we are not in the Pure Land, like in this world. Imagine now, suddenly you know all your past lives, etc. You know all the evil deeds you have done in the past life. So in our world, in the Buddhist Sutra, it also says when people attain arhat, so at the time of the Buddha, there are also a lot of people attain arhat. When they attain arhat, they activated this ability. They knew what they have done in the past life. When they thought about the evil deeds they have done in the past life, their pores, the pores on the body, blood bleeded out because it really horrified them so much. So now before we become enlightened, maybe we don't want to know. When you become enlightened, even for arhat, they still feel like this horrified. But what's good for them is that they have already extinguished all the defilemental states. Before we have sort of extinguished our defilemental states, you actually don't want to know. When you know so much, you will not be able to sleep. Every day you may be in feel guilty, etc., about really all the evil deeds that you have done, we have done in our past. If you read the Siddhagarbha Sutra, you will know what I mean. All of us, we have really done immeasurable evil deeds maybe in the hell realm for already countless kalpas, in the animal realm, in the hungry ghost realm, etc. And now actually maybe we don't want to know yet. But when you're in the Pure Land, you will know. And don't worry, when you're in the Pure Land, even if you know, you will no longer be bothered by that because you are enlightened. Right? When you're enlightened, then you're not attached. You just see things as they are, without being attached. So now do not be attached to any kind of a so-called divine power, supernatural power, spiritual abilities, etc. In fact, all these powers, all these spiritual abilities are all within us. They're not outside of us. Right? They're all within our Buddha nature. It's just because currently they are being blocked by our attachment and separation, and also our defiled mental states. And when a person's mind becomes relatively quiet and much more peaceful, and maybe through meditation, a lot of cultivation, you will slowly also be able to see many things that you may not be able to see before. But all these things are actually all here. It's just currently all these abilities and powers have been blocked. And when we go to the Pure Land, they will be activated, not because our cultivation suddenly becomes so great that we can, have recollection of all our past life, even transcend the ability, even goes much beyond than great aha, not because of our individual effort in our cultivation. Again, it's due to Amitabha Buddha's great vows. So we get to actually enjoy these abilities. These abilities we are currently talking about here, it's actually the fruit of the Buddha. Right? When one attains at the level of the Buddha, a really highly enlightened bodhisattvas, one will have this ability. Before that, through your self-effort, you have to cultivate for a long time. You cannot have these abilities. So a story from the Buddha Sutra about the ability of a great arhat. So Shariputra, we know that, foremost in wisdom, Buddha's disciple. So one day, Buddha and Shariputra were together, and there was this little pigeon that flew under the Buddha's feet. So sort of came into the shadow under the Buddha. And then when Shariputra came in closer, the pigeon felt a little bit scared. So Shariputra wondered, why Buddha, I'm already an enlightened being. I'm an arhat. I have no thought of harming this little pigeon. Why he, felt a bit scared. And then Buddha said, although you are an arhat, you are an enlightened being, but you still have habitual tendency from the past lives. So even for arhat, a lot of a habitual tendency, although they have no more afflictions, extinction of all afflictions, but they have habitual tendency. You can see a kind of vibe that this animal is very sensitive to. In the past, he had harmed maybe this pigeon. So in this lifetime, when the pigeon saw him, he felt a little bit scared, not because he had any thought to harm him, but just this habitual tendency. Right? So even for great arhat, they still have a lot of habitual tendency, and they still have separation. They have no more attachment to anything except the Dharma, but they have separation. And then the Buddha said, Shariputra, why don't you use your spiritual power to see when will the pigeon, what the pigeon have been in his past life, and what he will be, when eventually will the pigeon maybe realize Buddhahood, etc. So Shariputra used his great spiritual power. Right? As a great arhat, he could see 80,000 kalpas, maximum past and the future. And then all he saw, for the pigeon, the past 80,000 kalpas had always been a pigeon. And so is the future. 80 more thousand kalpas have passed. Many Buddhas had come and go. He was still a pigeon. That's why being in the cycle of samsara is scary, because of habitual tendency. Right? This is similar also to another Buddha story in the sutra, when they were sort of building this place for the Buddha. They saw also ants, a bunch of ants, and these ants, they have been ants for already countless eons. Why? Because every time they are attached to this ant's body, they are attached to the thought that I am an ant, so I'll be an ant in my next life. So the pigeon had been pigeon for past and future 80,000 kalpas. And then after that, Shariputra was like, Buddha, I cannot see anymore. The pigeon had just always been a pigeon. And the Buddha said, oh, because you are a great aha, so that's just the maximum of your ability. But the pigeon, again, after countless eons of being a pigeon, will eventually reincarnated as a human, eventually listened to the Buddha Dharma, eventually cultivated again after countless eons, and eventually will actually realize Buddhahood. So in the Pure Land, we'll just naturally know at all times, right? And not only we naturally know all our past lives, we can also thoroughly see and completely hear and listen to this, knowing all the things in the 10 directions from the past, present, and future. This is really the kind of abilities, the Buddha's abilities we are talking about. We will all have the Buddha's ability when we are in the Pure Land, despite we may not even be a Buddha yet. And why is that? Because of Amitabha Buddha's great vows. It's a bit like when you are born in a rich family, right? You are a prince, you get to enjoy everything. Not because you have the ability to earn all this money, reputation that your father had earned, but because you are born in his family, so you get to enjoy everything that your father had cultivated for, a long lifetime to build up all this empire for you. So it's a little bit like that, right? Because we are like the lucky, fortunate children of Amitabha Buddha. So when we go there, we also get to enjoy the abilities of the Buddha, even without first being a Buddha. And this is really incredible. And you will be able to absolutely see, hear, know all the things, where, everywhere, in the 10 directions, and when, anytime, past, present, and future. Actually, time and space are an illusion. It's just currently we are trapped in this three-dimensional reality, a low-dimensional existence. So we are being trapped by the illusional time-space. Even Einstein said, actually, time and space can be transcended. Physicists, scientists, they have started to acknowledge this, but they just don't know how yet. The Buddhas know. Enlightened beings, they know. At the level of the Buddha, one knows everything. So beings in the Pure Land, they can clearly see when we are currently here giving this talk on the 48 great vows. They can clearly hear if they want to. But don't worry, they will not be sort of bothered by any of the sort of boring stuff that we are doing maybe all the time here in the world. And all these great abilities that we will obtain in the Pure Land, they are actually all used to help save sentient beings and also to help us to study. When we are in the Pure Land, say maybe you want to go to the Medicine Buddha's land to study with the Medicine Buddha, or you want to go to, I don't know, some other Buddha's land to listen to what the Buddha is saying. No need to actually travel. You can if you want to, but you also have the ability to just completely hear, even when you are in the Pure Land. How incredible is that? It's like a really technology, like a screen just suddenly appear at a mere thought, and you can see, you can hear what's happening. Pure Land beings, if they want to see us, hear us, really just at a mere thought, they can do it. It's just like a screen that come in front of them, and then they can see. Yeah, but they probably don't bother with us. They're too low dimensional, but they may come here to actually help us. And when they do that, these abilities are really great, are really convenient. So nowadays, if we want to maybe export the Dharma, we want to help other people, we maybe don't know so much, how we should talk, what I should say, etc. So to suit these people's needs or abilities or capacities or interests, etc. Now we are kind of like doing this a bit like a guess. I just guess, and then I just say whatever I feel like. But with this kind of abilities, I can maybe eventually in the future, if I go to the Pure Land, then I will clearly know, okay, what you like to hear. So maybe I should present it this way. And then this can best help you to take belief in Amitabha Buddha and the Pure Land. So Pure Land beings have great abilities that they can help save sentient beings. So you don't need to worry about, oh, what if you have bodhicitta, but you don't have the abilities like many of us right now. Maybe we generated bodhicitta. We want to also help others, but we don't have much abilities. Don't worry. When you are in the Pure Land, you will naturally have all these abilities. So currently now we actually don't need to be attached to these abilities. Again, for the reason I just talked about, because imagine if you can suddenly currently like see everything, hear everything, you will be so much afflicted all the time. Maybe you hear or what the people say, gossips, bad things about you, etc., things that you don't want to know. So now we don't need to be actually curious about any spiritual abilities. All these abilities will be naturally activated when we are in a Pure Land. And also for those people with good cultivation, the deeper your cultivation, for instance, your Nianfo, maybe you realize Nianfo Samadhi, a lot of these abilities will also be activated. There are arhats in our world that could see past lives, or also not even arhat. Like some people in our world, they also know their past lives, especially a lot of children, because their mind is very pure when they first born. And then when they grow up, they may forget. But we see a lot of recorded cases of people remembering their past lives when they were really young, really pure, much purer mind. They could remember their past lives. And also there are people with actually divine eye abilities in our world. And how the divine eye actually works, it's a bit like you can see clearly things from really far away. You don't need to rely on anything. Nothing can actually blocks your vision. It's like they can appear in front of you with great details and everything. But again, all these spiritual abilities also have different levels. There are people who can see things from afar, but they may not know what's going on. They may not understand the causal condition of what they're seeing, etc. Or there are people they see and they know. So like when in the Pure Land, we can really see things everywhere and know everywhere. And this ability, a divine eye, heavenly beings, they also have. But compared to the extent of the level of abilities we are talking about for beings in the Pure Land, those supernatural powers or spiritual powers the heavenly beings possess is really a piece of cake. Compared to beings in the Pure Land, it's not even worth to mention. Or maybe I'll also share a case, the very famous in Chinese Buddhism, about Bao Zhigong Chan master. So during the time of Liang Wudi, the emperor Liang Wudi, like a Bodhisattva emperor. So at that time, Buddhism was really prevalent in China because this emperor had really good roots. He took Bodhisattva vows and he built lots of temples, etc. So he really contributed greatly to also the development of Chinese Buddhism. So at that time, he had a Chan master who was like his teacher, and his name was Bao Zhigong Chan Shi, Bao Zhigong Chan master. So legend has it he was actually an incarnation of Guan Yin. So many, again, remember Buddha's bodhisattvas, they can have countless incarnations in different worlds at the same time to help save sentient beings. So it was said Bao Zhigong Chan master was an incarnation of Guan Yin, and he really sort of demonstrated also great spiritual powers. Usually people don't really demonstrate, even if they have, right? It's not sort of encouraged, but in some rare cases and conditions when really it's maybe absolutely needed, and they may do that. So before this Emperor Liang Wudi, Bao Zhigong Chan master was actually locked in the prison because the previous emperor, he did not like Buddhism at all. He did not want any sort of a Dharma teachers talking about it, and he locked him up in prison, and people saw him was still on the street, like one body on the street and another body still in the prison. So things like that. So he had great spiritual power. And one day he was invited to a wedding of a rich family, maybe the royal relatives or something. And then he agreed and he went, and then he saw everyone was celebrating such a, you know, happy wedding. And when he got there, he was like, this is so weird. Everyone is celebrating, but I really see it's really a true suffering. Why is that? And he said, this grandson actually married the grandma from a previous life. And then this little girl was actually eating her mother's body from the previous life. And then this little boy was actually hitting the drum. The drum was made by the donkey skin, and the donkey was actually the father from the previous life, who reincarnated as a donkey, and then his skin got to be used to make the drum. And then he saw all these past lives, pigs, sheep, chicken, whatever that this family used to eat. They all now reincarnated as humans, and they cook the relative, the family that used to eat them in the past lives. So a lot of dramas in the cycle of samsara, if we really have the ability to know what's happening from our past lives. Maybe, I don't know, the person you married could be your grandma from the past life. So the grandma, when she passed, the grandson just was born, and then the grandma was very much attached to this grandson. And the grandma had still a bit of a merit left to be a human, to reincarnate it back as a human. And so the grandma, because of this attachment, a habitual tendency to the grandson, decided to reincarnate it as a little girl, the neighbor of that son. So then in the future, she wanted to take care of the grandson. And then so they got married. So really, if we have this ability, a lot of things we maybe don't want to know, actually. And then all those sheep, chicken, pigs that they used to eat from the past lives, they reincarnated as a human. And this time they actually cook the people who ate them. So karma is really fair. If there's anything that's fair, it's our karma. When we encounter really unpleasant situations in life, maybe people just hate us for no reason. And there was a reason from the past episode, the previous episodes that you may have forgotten. So when we really believe in the law of karma, then a lot of things we can really start to let go. We can really stop our complaining, stop complaining about maybe how God is so unfair, right? God did not create all this, actually. No such thing as the creator absolute that create the so-called our destinies. Whatever situations that we may encounter here is really because of our karma, the past good and evil deeds we have done. Even the Buddha was still subject to karma, but it's fine for him because he is no longer attached, and no more attachment, no more separation. So it doesn't matter, even if people want to kill him, to him, it's fine. He has already realized the Buddhahood, the truth of life is no birth and no death, the essence of who we are. So, to stay in the cycle of samsara is really scary when we think about this. And if you understand this, you understand also the law of karma, you believe in past lives and this causal connection, etc., then you know that perhaps you don't need to be so attached to whatever relatives, families you may have here. Like the family, the relatives that you're currently with, I could be also your enemy from your past life, and then they could again come here to take revenge. I'm not trying to scare anybody, right? When I say take revenge, it doesn't need to be like, oh, I may kill you, etc. It's not like that. For instance, maybe your child may die really early in this life. Just an example, right? This child from the past, because you may have harmed this child so much that you made him really, really upset. So this lifetime, he may come to you and then to also make this happen to you. So a lot of things like that in the cycle of samsara. And when we sort of know this, then we don't need to be too attached really to even the closest people here. I don't want to sound like so cold-blooded or cold-hearted, but if you want to go to the Pure Land, you want to exit the cycle of samsara, you need to make sure that your attachment to the Saha world, to whoever you may be so attached here that you cannot let go, it's light. You actually need to make sure that your attachment, particularly also to your family members, is not so heavy. So this will make your rebirth much easier. So there was actually a real story, a Taiwanese grandma who was very diligent in her Nianfo practice. Like for 3 times, she saw Amitabha Buddha, but each time she did not go. Why? Because at that time, like karmic obstacle we are talking about here, she thought about, oh, you know, my grandson, I really want to see my grandson to grow old, get married, etc. As soon as this kind of thought arose, Amitabha Buddha disappeared. And then she could not go with Amitabha Buddha. And really only, she was still lucky enough, still have good enough merit. Only the last time he finally let go of the thought, the attachment to the grandson, then she go with Amitabha Buddha. So we also need to be careful here for people who are serious about exiting the cycle of samsara, seeking rebirth to the Pure Land. Make sure your attachment to the Saha world is not too strong. It cannot be stronger than your attachment to the Pure Land, to wanting to, you know, really end all sufferings in life. And don't worry, like you can actually have much better ability to help to save your relatives, your family, people you love here, if you are in the Pure Land. If you stay in the cycle of samsara, then you actually do not have this ability. In the next round of the cycle of samsara, who knows where you may end up? The person you love, sometimes if we see, I don't know, Hollywood movies, they may be like, you know, in my next life, I want to be with you, etc. Right? This is just ignorance, like pure fantasy that does not exist actually. Or it does not it will not act out the way that you want, right? Because each person is subject to their own karma. So maybe the person that you really love, in your next life, he may not even be a person. You cannot encounter him or her. If you really truly love someone, I remember Master Renshan said in his Dharma talk, the most romantic thing you can do with anybody in our world is actually to exit the cycle of samsara with this person. If you really want to be with him or her forever, true love is forever unchanged. There's no true love in this world, okay? All kind of love is just illusionary, temporary love. When we say true love, I mean permanent, unchanged love. You want this kind of love. The only way is to exit the cycle of samsara and to go to the Pure Land with that person. And that's actually the most romantic thing you can ever do. And in the past, there had also been like couples that they all seek rebirth to the Pure Land together. So that's sort of ideal. And I hope in the future, I also bring all your family members, your children, your grandchildren, etc. Bring them all to the Pure Land. Don't be attached to them at the time of your rebirth. You go first and then you come back to let them know. You will have the ability to come back to let them know. So yes, do not be attached to really people so much and things so much in the Saha world, because all is impermanent. We need to see the truth of this world. And then we know actually what's the most important thing for us. It's really to go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, exit the cycle of samsara, and to realize Buddhahood. Okay. And next, when I become a Buddha, all beings who come to be born in my land will all possess the wisdom of telepathy. If they cannot all know the minds and thoughts of sentient beings from 100 million nayotas of hundreds of thousands of Buddha lands, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Okay, again, talking about the spiritual ability we'll have, telepathy is that you will be able to clearly know the minds and thoughts of all beings, where, really everywhere, 100 million nayotas. The nayotas could mean 100,000, 1 million, or 10 millions, right? And then we're talking about 100 million and then 10 millions of hundreds of thousands of Buddha lands. And really, the extent of this ability is so great. You will be able to completely know about all the thoughts and minds of all these people, if you want to. So for beings in the Pure Land, if they want to know what we are thinking currently now, they can know. Naturally, at a mere thought, they can know. But don't worry, they will not be bothered with our sort of boring thoughts, rubbish thoughts all the time, right? So again, this ability is also to use to help save sentient beings. Imagine if you know what other people think, then you know what to give them, and you know how to speak the Dharma in the right way, to present it in the right way, so to best suit this person's ability. Like Buddhas and Bodhisattva use this as also skillful means. Buddhas speak differently to people with different capacities, interests, levels of understandings, etc. Remember, the Buddha also talked about that in the Lotus Sutra. So these abilities are great. And when we are in the Pure Land, we use this ability to help save beings from all worlds in the 10 directions. They're not used to generate afflictions. And now, if we have this ability, imagine, you know what your husband's thinking, your wife's thinking right away. You may not want to know. So now, if we have this ability, what it does to us may just be generate afflictions because we're not enlightened yet. So, but when we're in the Pure Land, it's a different story. Right? We will not be bothered by anything, not to be attached by anything. But this ability can be used as a skillful, really helpful means to help save sentient beings. Okay, next, when I become a Buddha, all beings who can't be born in my land will all attain freedom in divine power, paramita. In a moment of thought, if they cannot surpass 100 million yotas of hundreds of thousands of Buddha lands, traveling, touring all around and making offerings to all Buddhas, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. So the 10th vow is the vow of teleportation, and the 11th vow is the vow of making offerings to all Buddhas. So teleport, I think it's so magical. When we talk about this word, it's like a bit like we're talking about people in the science field. It's actually much, much beyond that. The abilities beings possess in the Pure Land, it's much, much more beyond what we can even possibly imagine in this world. And you can teleport anything from very, very far to the front, right? So if you want to make offerings to the Buddha, right, you can either in one thought go to the Buddha, right, to, for instance, maybe Medicine Buddha's land. If you love Medicine Buddha and you want to see Medicine Buddha, in one thought, you can go there. Or in one thought, you can get Medicine Buddha to come in front of you. It's like that. I remember time and space are illusions in the Pure Land. And it's really actually inconceivable, right? How we talk here. It's not, we cannot conceive with our current level of understanding of the world. It's a bit like if you talk about to the ants cannot conceive the human's life. The ants cannot conceive the humans' rockets that are gonna go to Mars, etc. Right? If you explain to ants, all they know is just about rice, food, and everything. Right? It's a bit like that, not to be conceived by our current level of understanding. So we'll all attain freedom in divine power. I really include all kinds of spiritual abilities that we just talked about, and also teleportation, all the kind of incredible spiritual abilities that you may want. Like paramita here means perfection, like perfect abilities, right? Which means that these perfect abilities, again, is really at the level of the Buddha. Again, not because we are so great, we can cultivate and then suddenly attain all these perfect abilities. It's because Amitabha Buddha says so, his great vows, and much more advanced than arhats and lower level of enlightened beings. Arhats, they can only fly. If they want to travel from India to China, they may fly maybe for 1 hour, and then they are here. When I say fly, I don't mean that they take the airplane like what we ordinary people do. There are beings in our world, they can actually fly with their body. And maybe not the I don't know how they do it. I'm not an arhat, right? But there are stories like that, recorded cases like that in China, even modern time. A person, for those who are curious, I'll share a little bit. These are actually recorded as like one of the 10 most mysterious sort of things happened in China. They include also other accounts of UFOs, etc. So this person, I found a village in Shenzhen province, very far away from Shanghai, okay? Very far away. If you were to travel from that village to Shanghai, it may take like 3 days by train, etc. And then one evening, this person is a normal person like us. He felt two beings came to him, and these two beings carry him to fly in the sky for some amount of time, which he could not remember. And the next morning, he was found in Shanghai, like in the street of Shanghai. This real stories actually. And then, yeah, and these two people who carry him, which we don't know, most likely maybe Aha. At least they have this kind of ability to be able to fly in between cities and for long distance that they could arrive in a short time. And these two people later also came to him a few times. I don't know. He did not know why this people came to him and to do this trick to him on him. And then these two people, they could travel freely to really the most security places. I'm talking about maybe army places where there are security guards, etc. These people, they could go in and out freely. And they could go in and out freely in many places and no one noticed. Really incredible abilities. And they can fly in between cities. And later, again, this person eventually went back to his village. So he was found in Shanghai, and then somehow later, this two person also came to him and then bring him to like a really highly secured sort of a army place, like outside of Shanghai. And then he also did not know why. And then later, eventually he got back to his village. And then one evening, again, these two people came to him, and we could say maybe kidnapped him a little bit, and then took him around to like 7 different cities in China within like a week, and not by flying the airplane, like just purely by flying. And this person really, he did not have this ability, but these two people, they drag him around to fly. And these are real. Actually, it's been on news. You can find, if you know Chinese, you can use Baidu, a Chinese equivalent of Google. It's been on news and people talk about this. So there are beings with this kind of abilities also in our world, but we don't know who they are, and then they will not also show, right? People usually with this kind of abilities are very low key. Arhats, there are arhats in our world. And maybe even also bodhisattvas, even Buddhas, who knows? So arrive in one thought in the Pure Land. What's so special with our abilities there? We don't need to fly. To fly is kind of like a low level of abilities to beings in the Pure Land. No need to fly, okay? You can arrive in one thought, really transcend time and space, because it resonates completely with our Buddha nature. We're talking about on the ground of the Buddha's abilities. So when we go to the Pure Land, anywhere we want to go, in the whole of the Dharma Land, you can arrive in one thought. Can beings from the Pure Land come to our world in one thought? Yes, they can come to our world in one thought. So if you're worried that you're going to miss someone here, you go to the Pure Land and then in one thought you come back if you want to. I remember we had people worry about, but the sutra doesn't say you can come back to tell your family you are in the Pure Land. Well, although it doesn't say those words, which I talk about in the podcast, but you have this ability. So of course you can come back. But you may not want to come back because all of a sudden you know all your relatives and family members from all your past lives. Remember, you will be too busy maybe to want to help these people in maybe not just on Earth, okay? Not just in the Saha world. You could be also reincarnated in other world systems. Yeah, it is true. We may not just all be Earthlings. Only this lifetime we may be here on Earth. Who knew? Our previous life could be on Mars or maybe in different galaxies even. So when you are in the Pure Land, you will all of a sudden be so busy right? Because you get to know all your relatives, your family members from all your past lives, and you may not be even want to come back, right? Because you think, oh, maybe other people there in the hell realm, they're more important, I'll go there first. Or you can actually have at the same time also different incarnations in different world and helping all beings at the same time, which we'll talk about it later. In the latest vow, we'll see. So really inconceivable. Can go anywhere to help save sentient beings. And also with this ability, right? Not only you can help save sentient beings, you can also travel everywhere to make offerings to all the Buddhas. If you want to see Shakyamuni Buddha when you're in the Pure Land, you can see. And then you can also come back to the Saha world also to make offering to Shakyamuni Buddha here. Okay, Shakyamuni Buddha is both here and in the Saha world and also in different worlds. You can learn from all the Buddhas at the same time. That's why in the Pure Land, we can realize Buddhahood so soon. Imagine if you have this ability, at the same time, you can make offerings to all Buddhas, which you will generate really infinite blessings and merit. And then at the same time, with this divine eye and divine ear, all these abilities, you can hear the Dharma expounded by the Buddhas. And immediately, quickly, you will learn all these different types of samadhi. So of course, you can realize Buddhahood so soon. I really fast track your Buddhahood. That's why even highly enlightened bodhisattvas, they choose to also vow to go to the Pure Land. Remember, bodhisattvas, Samadabhadra, Manjushri, because they also know that they can really fast track the Buddhahood. So if this cannot achieve, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. I just a concluding sentence for each vow, because Amitabha Buddha has already realized Buddhahood. So they have all been achieved. So if we think about all these abilities we're going to get in the Pure Land, every day we should really be laughing. It's like, you know that you have won the lottery in the cycle of samsara, like $1 billion times $1 billion lottery. It's just, you may not get it yet. You'll only get it later. But if you know this is such good news, our life, we should really do not be bothered so much by maybe some kind of sufferings we may experience only temporary here while we are on earth. So it's really worth it to nianfo with faith and vow and to seek rebirth to the Pure Land. And now, although we cannot really make offerings maybe to any Buddha, but maybe we can make offerings to all the future Buddhas, right? To our parents, relatives, and friends, etc. Right? If you want to also cultivate blessings, generosities. So, and when we are in the Pure Land, we will be able to really have this inconceivable spiritual powers to use to help all sentient beings in all the worlds in the 10 directions, to make offerings to all the Buddhas, past, present, and future, and to realize Buddhahood really, really soon. So we must nianfo and seek rebirth to the Pure Land. Okay, so that's the end of the session for tonight. So let's do the merit transfer together. May the resulting merit and virtue adorn the Buddha's Pure Land, repay the 4 great kindnesses above, and relieve the suffering of those in the 3 evil paths. May those who see and hear this all generate the unsurpassed bodhicitta when this retribution body comes to an end, be reborn in the land of ultimate bliss. Namo Amituofo Buddha. Namo Amituofo.